Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and fellow dreamer, I want you to take a moment and think about the things that you share on a daily basis. We live in a world where we are constantly exchanging information, ideas, and experiences. But have you ever thought about the power of silence? The things we choose not to share can sometimes be more important than the things we do. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Smart people never share 3 things. The first one, their insecurities. Now, this isn't about pretending to be perfect because let's face it, who is? But it's about knowing your worth and standing tall, even when the world around you is uncertain. Smart people understand that insecurity is a private battle. They don't need to broadcast their fears to gain validation. They know that their journey is their own, and the more they keep that space sacred, the more they build their inner strength. Insecurities are a deeply personal aspect of our lives. We all have them. Those nagging doubts about our abilities, appearance, or decisions. But smart people know that these insecurities are not something to broadcast to the world. They understand that it's not about being perfect or having everything figured out, but about protecting the quiet spaces in our minds that allow us to grow and develop. When we expose our insecurities to others, we often invite unnecessary judgment or pity. While it may seem like we are seeking support or understanding, there is a risk that people may misunderstand our vulnerabilities or use them against us. It's easy to feel small or weak when we share our deepest insecurities with others. Especially when the response we receive is not what we hoped for. People may not always know how to respond. And in those moments, we risk feeling more isolated or misunderstood. Smart individuals recognize the power of silence in this area. They don't wear their insecurities as a badge, and they don't invite others to scrutinize their weaknesses. Instead, they focus on building resilience and strength in private. They embrace the idea that we don't need to expose our inner struggles for validation or empathy. True strength comes from facing our insecurities head on in private and choosing to rise above them without needing an audience. By keeping our insecurities to ourselves, we create a space where we can process and address them in a way that is healthy and constructive. This allows us to work through our challenges without external pressures or opinions influencing our growth. There's something incredibly empowering about knowing that our self-worth is not tied to the approval of others. It's an act of self-respect to not allow our insecurities to be part of the narrative that others create about us. Keeping our insecurities private also allows us to control how we choose to address them. We can take the time to heal, to learn, and to improve ourselves without the weight of other people's expectations or judgments. The process of confronting our fears and doubts becomes a personal journey, not a public spectacle. And that's something that can't be easily taken away from us. It's important to remember that insecurities don't define us. They are a part of being human, but they don't have to be the focus of our existence. By keeping them to ourselves, we prevent them from becoming a focal point in our lives. Instead, we shift the focus to our strengths, our growth, and the potential we have to overcome whatever obstacles we face. The power of keeping our insecurities private is not about hiding who we are. It's about recognizing that we don't need to lay ourselves bare in front of others to be seen or heard. We don't have to expose our vulnerabilities for the sake of connection. Smart people understand that the most profound connection comes from within, from knowing who we are and embracing that truth without needing to broadcast it for validation. When we keep our insecurities to ourselves, we protect our inner peace. And in doing so, we give ourselves the space to grow stronger, more resilient, and more confident with each passing day. The second thing smart people never share their plans. You see, in this world full of distractions, everyone has an opinion. People will try to influence you, tell you where to go and how to get there. But true visionaries, they keep their plans close to their hearts. They don't need to announce every step they're taking because their goals aren't meant to please the crowd. They are meant to fulfill their own vision. And there is power in that quiet confidence, in executing your dreams without seeking constant approval. So keep your plans to yourself and watch how beautifully they unfold. Our plans are the blueprint of our future, a vision of where we want to go and how we aim to get there. Yet one of the wisest choices we can make is to keep these plans to ourselves. In a world where everyone seems to have an opinion on everything and people are quick to advise or criticize, there is immense value in keeping your vision close to your chest. When we share our plans with others, we often open ourselves up to a range of reactions, not all of which are helpful. Some people might genuinely offer support and encouragement, but many will only add to the noise, questioning our decisions, doubting our ability to succeed, or suggesting alternative paths that might lead us astray. This constant barrage of external input can make it difficult to stay focused on our own goals. The more people we tell, the more we dilute the clarity of our original vision, allowing outside influences to cloud our judgment. The truth is, most people who offer unsolicited advice have no real understanding of our journey, our dreams, or the circumstances that shape our decisions. Their perspectives are limited, shaped by their own experiences and biases. What may seem like sound advice to them may not apply to our specific situation. The more we share our plans, the more we risk allowing other people's doubts to creep into our minds and their limiting beliefs to influence our actions. Smart people recognize this danger. They know that their plans are their own, that their vision is not meant to be validated by others. They understand that to truly succeed, they must stay focused on their goals and not be distracted by the noise of the world around them. The more they keep their plans to themselves, the more power they retain over their actions. They aren't swayed by the opinions of others. They are driven by their own internal compass. In keeping our plans private, we also create an environment where we are less likely to face unnecessary pressure when we share our goals with others, especially when they are still in the early stages. We often invite a level of expectation that we may not be prepared for. People will begin to check in on our progress, offer unsolicited advice, or even judge our ability to follow through. The added pressure can cause us to second-guess our decisions, even when we are confident in our direction. By keeping our plans private, we allow ourselves the freedom to move at our own pace, without the weight of other people's expectations. There is something profoundly powerful about executing your plans without having to announce them to the world. It's about taking action with quiet confidence, trusting in your ability to make things happen, and allowing your success to speak for itself. The more we share our plans, the more we set ourselves up for comparison, and the more likely we are to become disillusioned if things don't go exactly as expected. When we keep our plans to ourselves, we protect our process from the scrutiny of others. We allow ourselves to make mistakes, to course correct, and to grow without feeling the need to explain ourselves at every step. By keeping our plans private, we also protect them from the possibility of sabotage, whether intentional or not. People who are envious of our progress or who feel threatened by our ambition may subtly undermine our efforts. They may not even do so consciously, but by sharing too much, we open ourselves up to negative energy that can derail our focus. Smart people understand the importance of protecting their dreams, and they keep their plans private to safeguard them from external interference. difference. The act of keeping our plans to ourselves is not about secrecy or deception. It's about empowerment. It's about maintaining control over our journey, keeping our eyes fixed on the goal, and ensuring that no one else's doubts or opinions can alter the course we've set. The less we share, the more space we have to focus on what truly matters, taking deliberate, purposeful steps toward our goals, regardless of what others think. By staying silent about our plans, we empower ourselves to act with confidence, clarity, and conviction. And the third thing that smart people never share, their weaknesses. Now, I'm not talking about vulnerability. We all have moments where we need to lean on others, where we need to be open. But smart people recognize that their weaknesses are not their identity. They learn to transform those weaknesses into areas of growth. And they don't need to parade them around for others to see. They understand that they are strength in growth. And not every struggle needs to be publicly displayed. The best growth happens in private, where you can truly discover what you're capable of. Our weaknesses are often viewed as vulnerabilities, areas where we lack strength, where we fall short of our potential. In a world that encourages self-promotion and the constant showcasing of one's strengths, admitting weaknesses can feel like a defeat. However, the smartest people know that our weaknesses don't need to be paraded in front of others, and that there's far more power in transforming them than in displaying them for the world to see. When we openly share our weaknesses, we risk exposing ourselves to judgment or pity. In a society that thrives on comparison, where people are constantly measuring their success against others, revealing our vulnerabilities can make us feel small or inadequate. It's easy for others to take advantage of this exposure, whether intentionally or not. The moment we let our weaknesses become the focal point of conversation, we give others the opportunity to define us based on what we lack rather than who we truly are. This external judgment can affect our self-esteem and hinder our growth. But smart people know that true power comes from turning weaknesses into opportunities for growth. Instead of focusing on what they don't have or what they can't do, they channel their energy into improving themselves quietly and privately. By not sharing our weaknesses, we maintain control over how we address them. There's no pressure to explain, justify, or defend where we fall short. The process of confronting and working on our weaknesses becomes something intimate, something personal that is not for public consumption. When we keep our weaknesses to ourselves, we also give ourselves the freedom to evolve at our own pace. The world is filled with unsolicited advice and opinions, and when we share our vulnerabilities, we open ourselves up to external influences that may not be helpful. Others might offer suggestions or point out where we've gone wrong, but not every piece of advice is rooted in genuine concern. People may unknowingly project their own fears or experiences onto us, clouding our own judgment in the process. By keeping our weaknesses to ourselves, we eliminate the need for external validation or feedback, and we protect our journey of self-improvement from distractions. Another crucial aspect of keeping our weaknesses private is that it allows us to focus on the areas where we are strong. Rather than dwelling on what we can't do, we can concentrate on what we can do and use our strengths to compensate for our weaknesses. It's about playing to our advantages and finding ways to work around or improve our limitations in a way that feels natural and authentic to us. There's no need to make our weaknesses a focal point in every conversation or interaction. Instead, we can quietly address them behind the scenes with the knowledge that we are improving without the added pressure of public scrutiny. By not sharing our weaknesses, we maintain an air of confidence and self-assurance that can be crucial in both personal and professional settings. People often take cues from how we present ourselves. If we open openly discuss our weaknesses, we run the risk of diminishing our credibility or appearing uncertain. On the other hand, if we hold our weaknesses in reserve, we create an image of strength and competence which can inspire others to trust and rely on us. This doesn't mean pretending to be flawless. It means knowing when to show our strengths and when to work on our weaknesses privately without the need for acknowledgement from others. There's also an important element of self-preservation in keeping our weaknesses to ourselves. People are not always kind, and in a world where everyone is striving to climb the ladder of success, showing vulnerability can sometimes be seen as a weakness to be exploited. Smart people understand that by keeping their weaknesses hidden, they are protecting themselves from being taken advantage of or misunderstood. They recognize that not everyone has their best interests at heart, and in some cases, revealing too much can make them an easy target for those who may not wish them well. Smart people know that weaknesses are not something to be ashamed of. They are simply areas that need attention, care, and improvement. However, there is wisdom in recognizing that some things are best worked on in private, away from the judgment or influence of others. By keeping our weaknesses to ourselves, we allow the process of growth to unfold naturally, on our own terms, without the added pressure of external expectations or criticism. It is through this quiet, introspective journey that we can transform our weaknesses into strengths, one step at a time. Self-awareness is the foundation of true strength. It is the ability to understand who we are at our core, to recognize both our strengths and our limitations without needing external validation. Smart people are acutely aware of their worth, and they don't rely on others to confirm it. They know that true confidence comes from within, not from the approval or admiration of others. The more self-aware we become, the more we understand that our value is inherent, not contingent on someone else's perspective. In a world that often measures success by external factors, status, wealth, appearance, there is a great temptation to seek validation from others. We can become fixated on the approval of our peers, colleagues, or even strangers, believing that their opinions hold the key to our self-worth. But smart people recognize that this external validation is fleeting and unreliable. It is an illusion that can easily crumble. The moment we start relying on others to define us, we give up our power to control how we see ourselves. This is why self-awareness is so important. It gives us the inner strength to stand tall without needing constant reassurance from the outside world. People who are truly self-awareness understand that they do not need to prove anything to anyone. They are comfortable in their own skin and accept themselves for who they are, flaws and all. This doesn't mean they don't strive for growth or improvement. It simply means that they know their worth is not tied to their achievements or external recognition. They are not defined by what they have or what they do. They are defined by who they are. In this way, self-awareness becomes a shield that protects them from the harmful effects of comparison and the pressure to conform to societal expectations. Furthermore, self-awareness allows us to navigate the world with a sense of clarity and purpose. When we know ourselves, we can make decisions based on what is true to our values and goals, rather than trying to meet someone else's expectations. This clarity helps us prioritize what truly matters, cutting through the noise and distractions that surround us. We can focus on our own path, knowing that it is our journey to take, not one dictated by others. In a world full of competing voices and external pressures, being self-aware gives us the strength to stay true to ourselves and move forward with confidence. This inner clarity also enables us to set boundaries that protect our mental and emotional well-being. People who lack self-awareness often find themselves swayed by others' opinions, struggling to assert themselves or make choices that align with their values. They may agree to things they don't want to do or let others overstep their boundaries, all in an attempt to gain approval or avoid conflict. But those who are self-awareness are not afraid to say no when something doesn't align with their principles or priorities. They know their limits limits and they are comfortable enforcing them without feeling guilty or apologetic. This self-assurance is not born out of arrogance. It comes from a deep understanding of their own worth and the importance of maintaining their integrity. Self-awareness also allows us to confront our weaknesses and flaws with honesty and compassion. Rather than ignoring or denying our shortcomings, we acknowledge them without judgment. We understand that no one is perfect and that growth is a continual process. Smart people are not afraid to admit their mistakes or recognize areas where they can improve because they know that this is part of the journey. They don't seek validation by pretending to be flawless, but instead they embrace their imperfections and work on them in private. This self-compassion gives them the space to grow without fear of failure or rejection. Self-awareness fosters a sense of gratitude and contentment. When we are truly aware of who we are, we can appreciate the unique qualities that make us who we are. We learn to embrace our experiences, both good and bad, because they have shaped us into the person we've become. This understanding brings a deep sense of peace and satisfaction as we stop chasing after things that we think will make us happy and instead find contentment in who we already are. It's a quiet strength that doesn't need to be validated by the world because we know deep down that we are enough. Confidence is an invaluable trait, and it is not something that can be borrowed or borrowed from others. It must be cultivated from within, rooted in self-belief and nurtured through action. Smart people understand that true confidence comes not from showing off their abilities to others, but from trusting themselves and their own journey. Confidence is not about arrogance or trying to convince others of your worth. It's about knowing without a shadow of doubt that you are capable, worthy, and deserving of success no matter what others think. One of the most important things to understand about confidence is that it isn't a fixed state. It's something that grows over time, shaped by experiences, decisions, and actions. The more we face challenges, the more we step outside our comfort zones, the more we prove to ourselves that we can overcome obstacles, the stronger our confidence becomes. It's built through small wins, personal growth, and the knowledge that no matter how difficult things get, we have the ability to rise to the occasion. This kind of confidence is built on a foundation of personal achievements and the understanding that we are always evolving. However, smart people know that there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. Arrogance is an outward display of superiority, an attempt to convince others that you're better than them, often as a way of masking insecurity or self-doubt. Confidence, on the other hand, is quiet and grounded. It doesn't need to boast or show off because it knows that it's enough as it is. People who are truly confident don't need to compare themselves to others or seek external validation to feel good about themselves. They understand that their worth is not contingent on being better than anyone else. It's inherent. This type of confidence allows smart people to remain calm and composed in difficult situations. When faced with challenges or setbacks, they don't panic or crumble under pressure. They trust their abilities, knowing that they can navigate through difficult times and come out stronger. Confidence gives them the resilience to stay focused on the task at hand and to keep moving forward, even when the odds seem stacked against them. They understand that failure is a part of growth and that no obstacle is insurmountable if they stay true to themselves and keep pushing forward. Moreover, confidence allows people to take risks and embrace uncertainty. It gives them the courage to pursue their goals even when the path ahead isn't clear. People with true confidence aren't afraid of making mistakes or falling short because they know that these experiences are stepping stones to success. They understand that the only way to truly grow is to take risks, make mistakes, learn from them, and keep moving forward. Confidence gives them the strength to take action without being paralyzed by fear of failure. It allows them to embrace the unknown and to step outside their comfort zones, knowing that they have what it takes to figure things out as they go. Confidence is also essential in how we interact with others. When we are confident in ourselves, we naturally attract people who share our values and who support us. We don't need to chase after approval or constantly seek validation from others because we already have a solid sense of who we are and what we bring to the table. This authenticity and self-assurance allow us to build genuine connections with others based on mutual respect and understanding. People who are truly confident don't feel the need to compete or compare themselves to others. They simply exist in their own space, knowing that their value doesn't diminish based on someone else's success or failures. One of the most important things about confidence is that it gives us the freedom to be ourselves. It frees us from the constraints of trying to fit into molds created by society, family, or peer pressure. With confidence, we embrace who we are, flaws and all. We stop trying to live up to others' expectations or put on a facade for the sake of fitting in. Instead, we embrace our authentic selves, knowing that we are worthy just as we are. This self-acceptance is the cornerstone of true confidence. It's the understanding that our uniqueness is our strength and that we don't need to apologize for being who we are. Confidence is not something that is given to us. It is something we must build from within. It comes from taking risks, facing challenges, and trusting ourselves, even when the world around us feels uncertain. The smartest people know that confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing our imperfections and knowing that we are enough. Confidence isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet and strong, rooted in the knowledge that we are capable of achieving whatever we set our minds to. It doesn't need external validation because true confidence comes from knowing deep down that we are worthy of success, happiness, and everything we desire. Boundaries are often misunderstood, yet they are essential to maintaining our well-being and ensuring our mental and emotional health. People who understand the importance of boundaries are in a better position to protect their time, energy, and peace of mind. Smart people know that setting clear boundaries is not about being rigid or unwilling to compromise. It's about recognizing the value of self-respect and the need to prioritize what truly matters. Boundaries are a way of taking ownership of our lives, ensuring that we don't let others infringe upon our time, resources, or emotional state. They serve as a shield, allowing us to protect our personal space and energy while creating an environment where we can thrive. The beauty of boundaries lies in their ability to help us define what is acceptable and what is not. Without clear boundaries, we risk becoming overwhelmed by the demands of others, losing sight of our own needs and desires in the process. When we don't set boundaries, we leave ourselves vulnerable to manipulation, burnout, and resentment. We may feel guilty for saying no or feel obligated to meet the expectations of others, even when it goes against our values or needs. This constant overextension can drain our energy, leaving us feeling depleted and unfulfilled. Smart people understand that saying no is not a reflection of their character. It's a way of respecting themselves and their time. They know that they cannot pour from an empty cup. By establishing boundaries, they ensure that they can give their best to the people and projects that truly matter without sacrificing their own well-being. Boundaries are a form of self-care. They create space for us to recharge, reflect, and focus on our own goals without being constantly pulled in different directions by the demands of others. Setting boundaries also helps to maintain healthy relationships. When we are clear about what we are willing to accept and what we are not, we set the tone for how others should treat us. People who respect our boundaries are more likely to appreciate us for who we are, rather than taking advantage of our kindness or generosity. By setting limits on what we are willing to tolerate, we create an environment where mutual respect and understanding can flourish. Boundaries prevent us from being taken for granted or exploited, allowing us to engage in relationships that are supportive and nurturing rather than draining and one-sided. Boundaries allow us to protect our mental health in a world where it's easy to get caught up in the opinions and expectations of others. Setting boundaries gives us the space to focus on our own thoughts and emotions. When we don't establish boundaries, we may find ourselves constantly seeking approval, striving to meet unrealistic standards, or absorbing negative energy from others. This external pressure can contribute to stress, anxiety, and self-doubt as we try to live up to the expectations of others rather than staying true to ourselves. Boundaries create a mental buffer, allowing us to filter out distractions and prioritize what is truly important, leading to a sense of calm and clarity. Setting boundaries is also essential when it comes to managing our time. Time is one of our most precious resources, and once it's gone, we cannot get it back. Smart people know that they cannot afford to waste time on things or people that don't align with their goals. By setting boundaries around how we spend our time, we ensure that we are using it in ways that are meaningful and productive. Whether it's saying no to unnecessary commitments, avoiding time-wasting distractions, or protecting our personal space, boundaries help us stay focused on what truly matters and avoid getting lost in the noise of daily life. In the workplace, boundaries are especially important. People who are able to set clear boundaries between their work and personal lives are more likely to experience a sense of balance and fulfillment. Without boundaries, work can easily spill over into every aspect of life, leaving us feeling stressed and burnt out. By setting limits on work hours, taking regular breaks, and ensuring that personal time is protected, we can maintain our energy and motivation while being productive. Smart people understand that working harder isn't always better. Working smarter while respecting their boundaries is key to long-term success. The act of setting boundaries is an act of empowerment. It's about taking control of our lives and recognizing that we have the right to protect our energy, our time, and our peace of mind. By setting boundaries, we assert that we are worthy of respect and that our needs and desires matter. We stop waiting for others to define our worth and take responsibility for creating a life that aligns with our values and goals. Boundaries give us the freedom to live authentically without being held back by the expectations or demands of others. They allow us to flourish in a way that is true to ourselves, and they create the space for us to be the best version of who we are.